Welcome to the Awaken Man podcast. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Ben. We are dressed the same.
You got the memo, is it? you got the. There was nothing that actually synced the outfit today. Actually, if I put my shoulder up, you can see where. Yeah, there you go. Um, this is gonna be a good one today because we are equally as passionate about men's work as we are growing businesses.
Bizwiz.
Bizwiz. Yeah. Well, it was a conversation last week that I called Pete out and said, "Listen, you know, there's so much that he is able to share on this. What we're going to talk about today, that's going to help so many of our listeners, guys, growing businesses. I think that the power of a group sometimes is learning from all the other shit that all the failures that other men are going through. You're like, oh yeah, how can I either avoid that or like where am I not operating at that level to make those failures? So today's going to be a session where we go a mile deep into what's not worked for us in growing this movement. And we're super passionate about growing this movement of men. We want to help more and more men grow their businesses, actualize as men, really become the man that they're capable of being. And a big reflection of this, almost like we use this as like a canary in the mine for a man pushing through his struggles, is how his business is performing, right? So, yeah, this is going to be. So we're going to go through the failures and the struggles and the things that haven't worked today. Pete, you're going to lead on this one, yeah?
Yeah, interesting little nuance I've just picked up that you have led with what hasn't worked. I have led with what has worked.
Oh, right, okay, super, yeah.
And I notice this a lot, like in management. It's like, what's not working? What could we be doing better? Rather than just reversing that and go, oh, actually, like, what is working? What has worked? What could we just double down on or triple down on the things that are going really bloody well that we just haven't acknowledged? You know, the classic like 80-20. What's that one thing that we're doing super well that's getting us like 70-80% of the results? Or like the wins. Like I was having a conversation last week with a lady who she's got a team of. She works for a big company. She's got a team of about 10. And she was like, "This is my first management role." I was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And we talked through like some of the ways that she's managing her team. And it was very much like what's not working. Like she managed like what's not working. How can we improve? And I was like, "What is working for you? Tell me about what is working." And she mentioned like her like one-to-ones. I was like, well, how often do you do the one-to-ones? Oh, well, they're pretty infrequent. I was like, well, why don't you just double down on the one-to-ones? Like, if they work really well, double down on that rather than just trying to focus on the things that aren't working well and trying to improve that. So, yeah, little nuances.
Yeah, I think so many of us are trained to look at the things that we're not good at or we're failing at or we're not doing so well, and that is often the thing that we can outperform. But yeah, I think one of the things that I think you do very well as a leader as well is recognize strengths, wins, things that are going well, and that's something that it makes it great to work alongside you because you're that way inclined. You're not like really focusing on all the things that are going wrong, and it's quite sometimes it's a difficult place to look, but at the same time is that when you focus on your strengths, it does create a culture where everyone feels like they can really push the business forward. So yeah, just want to acknowledge that. So you kick us off, Pete. Let's get straight into this. Like, what are the things that you think have really helped us grow, move forward this quarter, this year so far?
For some context, my previous company, although we had like a very good online presence, we were very bricks and mortar. So we had a building, people in the office. We had clients coming to see us in the office. So a lot of it was face to face. We still did a lot online, still a lot virtually. Like I said, had a big online presence. This business is very, albeit we do see clients face to face when we do retreats and adventures and just like general meetups. A lot of it is very online based, right? And a lot of our marketing and so on is online based. So this has been a new adventure for us, like just like navigating the online world a little bit deeper than what I had done previously with my traditional bricks and mortar service based business. So quite a bit of trial and error. And it's interesting how Ben and I are a little bit different here on what we wrote down. Right, so I just had a couple of minutes with Ben before the podcast started. I was like, "How far did you get with this?" And Ben's got like 5 or 6 things which are quite broad and very like why, like the why based. Mine are very granular So my first list, I've got 30 things, and they're very like how to, very like straight. This little nuance here really just like helped. So, but that's really, really important for like team dynamics is having that. And you know what Ben alluded to earlier at the start, like focusing on strengths. Something really great to do with your team, and we've only recently done this, by the way, is doing like strength-based tests, right? So it's like actually like what are their natural strengths by doing like personality tests and so on. Then go, great, now let's focus on the strengths rather than like trying to fix the weaknesses. That's like number one. If you haven't done that already, look at different sorts of personality tests and strength-based tests that you can do personally as an entrepreneur, and that you can also do with your team. If you've got a team of there's a couple of you, or there's 5 of you, or there's 20 of you, or whatever that looks like, have a look at tests. Right? There's Wealth Dynamics, there's Myers-Briggs, there's Jordan Peterson's he's got a great test on personality. So you can go through these, and they don't cost a lot, but you can gain a ton out of them. It's one of the things that we used to do on like interview processes. When people get through to like a second round of an interview, we start doing some of these tests so we could see actually whether that's actually needed in a team and whether they are the right person for that role. Like if that role is very like process driven and systems and frameworks and so on, yeah, they are very creative. Like they come back on their tests as being quite creative, they might not actually be right for that role. Right, so it's a good place to start.
Yeah,
is doing testing.
Totally agree. Because like we did Wealth Dynamics the other day, and it actually just confirmed some of the things that you believe about yourself, and it gives you almost permission to step more into that as well. I love building relationships. It confirmed that, there's all of these things, like, and going back to what Pete said before, it's like instead of focusing on things you're not doing, like do what we're doing and do it even more. Like how can we turn the volume up on that? And that really gives you a really good foothold to start some good work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you do a test like that and you see where your strengths are and you can see where your weaknesses are. And it's like, great, let's focus on the strengths, but where do I need to get some help on the weaknesses? Like who do I need to get in? Whether that's like a new team member or whether that's just like employing someone to come and help you on a consultancy basis for a week or a month or whatever that looks like, to fix a certain problem that you're really struggling with.
I think that's where we between the three of us on the Awakened Man, I think that's why you're seeing yourself and I work really, really well together. You're seeing who is this big visionary. He just sees abundance. Like just sees so much possibility in not just the world, but the man that we work with. He just sees infinite possibility, and he's just come from such a place where he's built and achieved that. He helps men see huge visions. And you've got yourself, who's very, very detail oriented, very process driven, very operational, and you can help people put that into action. And then you've got me, who's a transformation coach, and I help people remove the self blocks that they put in the way, the limiting beliefs. So between the three of us, I think that's like why we've helped men get such great results, because sometimes you'll get a consultant and they'll give you the answers to go and change your operational systems in your business, but then you'll self-sabotage or you'll see potential pitfalls and not go and carry out what you've been told to do. Or equally, you've got the consultant, you've got the lack of limiting beliefs, but you haven't got the big vision. So I think that's why the trifecta of coaches that we've got on the Awakened Man really, really does work, because it's like you don't often get the three working together.
Mm-hmm. Right, I'm going to jump in with some of the things that have been working. These are in no particular order, but one I've got here is our drumbeat of weekly meets and occurrences, right? So it's like, show me your calendar and I'll show you what your business looks like and show you what your life looks like. We have in our calendar set meetings that happen every week, right? We also have in our calendar this podcast that happens every week. We've recently added to our calendar weekly workshops that are happening live in our Facebook group and every week, right? So it's like same time, same thing every week. Consistency. Same with this like podcast. We've been doing it week on week, starting to grow. We get more people listening to it. We're getting better at doing it as well, right? And that's just down to that consistency and having that in the calendar.
Show me your calendar.
We figured out it worked.
Show me your calendar and I'll show you what you're committed to. So if you've got nothing in your calendar, you're committed to chaos. It's so true. I honestly, that is exactly. And do you know what I wanted to share? It didn't happen overnight. It's taken work to get. There's been meetings that have been put in and taken out, but we've almost got to the point where we've got a good working time. It works. It's frequent. It didn't happen in a month. It took about 2 months to get a real foothold in, to calibrate both our calendars and actually what are the meetings that really need to be had. And like, they're not hour long meetings, sometimes 5-10 minutes, but it's just enough to keep the momentum forwards. Like, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the difference between busy and effective, and what those meetings are really for is to stay effective, keep focused on the things that really move the needle. So yeah, nod to Pete for driving that and putting that in as well.
Yeah, it's also important to acknowledge the types of meetings that you have in your calendar will evolve as you evolve as an entrepreneur and your business evolves. Like, the meetings that we have in our calendar are different to when I was running another business with a much bigger team, right? And we had other problems that we were facing and other issues that we were facing. When you're a smaller team, you don't need to be having all these big like C-suite like exec meetings, and you spend like most of your Friday doing meetings back to back to back, right? You don't need to do that when you're a smaller team and when you're growing. When you get over certain revenue numbers and when your team's growing, then maybe it is time to put in some more C-suite sort of like, here's a marketing meeting, here's a finance meeting, and here's a sales meeting, and so on. But really, it is, okay, where are we as a business? What stage are we at? What's the real focus here? Yes, we need to know our numbers. Yes, we need to know what's going on with sales, right? Yes, we need to know what's going on with the marketing. But do we need to spend hours and hours in meetings all day on a Friday to figure that out? No, right? We can condense that and just focus on what's priority. When the team gets bigger, yeah, it might look a bit like that. So that's number one, right? Getting your drum beat in, and not just like your meeting cadence, like not just like the types of meetings, but also like the other occurrences that you need in your calendar week in, week out, like us, like our podcast, like our workshops, right? We've got like our client calls, right? Every single week in, week out. Okay, that was number one. Number two, like I said, this is in no particular order. This is going very, very granular now. This is going like, oh, that's a bit random. But I'm telling you, this really works. Super, super simple. We use a booking system called Calendly. You can get loads of them. They're like Once Hub and Schedule Once. There's loads of variations of this, right? We use Calendly. It integrates with Zoom, which then integrates with like our CRM system. It makes life so much easier. We can just someone can just book a call, whether that's a client or that's like a consultant or that's someone that we might be talking to that's interested in come to join one of our programs. And it takes a couple of minutes. And the call's booked. It's all linked up with Zoom. It all goes into our system, and that's the power of like a really quick automation. And in another world where that automation isn't there, I know what it's like because I've been there. That's emails going back and forward, or that's messages going back and forward to book calls. And then it's like, once you've finally got a date in place, it's then, okay, well now let's set up the Zoom link and then let's input the data into our CRM. Or you don't and forget, right? That was an hour's worth of work to set up an automation that saves probably a couple of hours every week, right? Not just me, for Ben as well, and the rest of our team members. So that, like, compounded, saves a lot of time over the course of a month and year. So it's like, that was a really, we've got a number of automations that are in place that save time. That was a really quick one. So that might be worth something to consider, is where do I spend loads of my time? Like just doing silly things like admin, like booking a meeting.
I used to call it.
Can I get that automated?
I used to call it
pretty easily.
With Poppy used to call it booking tennis. She used to sit on the sofa every night and play booking tennis, and she would send a client an appointment. They'd send it back. No, I can't do that. Oh, well, what about this time? And then send it back. And I'm like, you literally spend your evenings playing booking tennis with potential clients. Like, put this system in, and yeah, it's a game changer.
My next one here is quarterly planning. So 90-day planning, 12-week planning, 12-week year. That is a great book if you haven't read that. I read that years and years ago, and I employed that tactic ever since. So every 90 days, we have like a big planning session, and we'll plan out and we'll map out what we want to achieve over the next quarter, right? And are we still aligned with our vision? Are we still aligned with what we want to achieve, like in 3 years and at the end of this year? Like, are we on target for that? So we're assessing what's gone really well over the last 90 days. What hasn't gone well over the last 90 days? What can we do more of? And what do we need to do over this 90 days, the next quarter, to meet our objectives? And this isn't like, yeah, we have some like directional vision, but it's broken down. So then we'll go into what are the metrics that we need to track to know that we are going to achieve that objective, right? And then what's the activity that we need to do in order to hit those metrics, in order to hit that objective, to hit that goal. So it's broken down into those like 3 steps. But it's super powerful. Like, it takes time. It's not easy to do that. But once it's done, that is then something that we look at most days and we review at the end of every week. Right, how far have we got towards our 90 days? Like, what have we hit off this week? Like, this podcast is on that plan.
Yeah.
We know we have X amount of podcasts to do. At the end of the week, we're like, great. Did we do it? Yes, we did. And then there's a couple of other actions off the back of that, right? So having a clear plan, not just like, I want to earn X amount of money, right? Or I want to get X amount of revenue in. It's not just that. It has to be broken down into like, well, what metrics can you track to know that you're going to get there, or you're on your way there? And what's the activity day to day?
Yeah, I think the saying is you can't commit to an outcome, you can only commit to a process, right? Is that you can't commit to, like, you can't say, I want to lose, I want to make X amount of money this month. You can commit to the things that could make that, but you can't commit to the actual outcome. The only thing that you actually have control over is the process. So you can commit to picking up the phone to 100 people. You can't commit to 100 people buying, because ultimately the decision is out of your control. And I think this is what a big shift for a lot of the people we work with is that they realize that, and then what they do then is giving themselves the opportunities to have that frequency with the activities that actually move the needle. Like Pete said before, we can't commit to 1,000 listeners for the podcast, but we can commit to making 12 podcasts, and we can commit to putting time in the calendar to optimize that. So this is like Pete's skill set, strong suit, is like looking at getting a vision, something that's maybe abstract, like a movement, like, oh, we're creating a movement, or we're creating a next level program, or something that's not been there before, and looking at the activities that underpin that. And that's a really, really big thing that I think a lot of people in business don't have. They're very visionary focused, like, oh yeah, I've got all these big ideas. And I used to say in my business, like, I don't want ideas. I don't want ideas. I want actions, activities, implementation. Like, people used to come to me, Ben, I'd be so great in your business because I've got so many ideas. I'm like, fuck your ideas. They're like a cancer sometimes, because they take you off track. What actually really, really helps a business grow is having maybe one person with the vision, and then people around that person implementing and creating and calibrating with the activities that you're doing week in, week out. And so, yeah, I think it's a really important skill. And we've got this not only in our business, but we teach this to the people that we work with every single quarter. We've got the best year ever. We play the 90-day money game, and these things help people have that 12-week year that Pete was talking about earlier. So yeah, massive shift there.
Right. Next, what is working? Asset focused. Right. We have this focus on ensuring that we are consistently creating assets, typically digital assets, within our business. For example, this podcast for us is an asset. It's time-stamped on the day that we release it, and then it's on the internet, right? It's then going to be working for us once. We do this once, it's taken us an hour probably. Then it will sit there and it'll be working behind the scenes when we're asleep, and when we're doing other tasks and other people are listening to us, and it's building our brand and it's getting our faces out there, and it's adding value and so forth, right? This is an asset. And not only is it going to sit there on Apple and Spotify, we can also break this podcast down into 27 different snippets that can then go on other platforms like Instagram and Facebook and so on. It could then be broken down into show notes, which are then posted as blogs and articles and features in magazines and so on. So that one asset, and we looked at this, we were like, what can we do that's highest leverage, right? That this one asset here can create multiple other things that will excel the company, and it's taken an hour. So, and we look at that, we're like, right, every issue that we have in the company, or not even just the issues, it's like the great things that we want to do, what can we create, right? What can we put in place that's digital, that's going to increase the value and exposure of our company? It's going to save us time, and it's going to grow the business. What can we put in place? So we have this asset focus. So we're always like, okay, we can create that, and that's going to help us down the line. Like another example of this is we are creating we already partly created an online platform for all of our like content that we create for our private clients. So it's kind of like a course, but not really, because there is so much to it. It's a big program. But what that means is that our clients can log in at any time and go and watch that and learn, and then go and do some work off the back of that we've created. So that's taken us an hour to create, and it's sat there, and that there is an asset to our company.
I think that's what, looking back in my early fitness career, I used to create so much stuff, and it wasn't assets. It was stuff I'd create, deliver once and never return to. It'd be hidden on a folder in the depths of my computer, never to be used by anyone again. And I put hours and hours and hours creating really good trainings. And I think I came across this mindset of creating assets, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, actually, do you know what? If I just moved this into an actual asset, which I created workouts that had themes, I had different programs every single year that we ran. Like we ran something called like a fast mudder, and every year we had a process. It was a process. We used to go to the same places. We charged a certain amount. Every year it would bring the company money. And now, even when I'm not operational in my fitness business, I can see that it still runs as well as I created it back when I created it. And I was like, that's what happens, is that it helps you. And Tony Robbins said this, actually, systems kill stars. So what happens is that sometimes you have people in your business that are like your stars, that, you know, they think that the business won't run without them. Well, he says, actually, systems kill stars. They create recipes that anyone can follow well, and they can be a star without it being dependent on the person. So sometimes we say as business owners, oh, you know, I'm the only person that can do it this well, or I'm the only person that can do it. But when you have assets, it removes the emphasis on the people. Like, I used to personal train for a guy. What he would do is, they used to try and process out people all the time. He said staff are the biggest headache. And what he was constantly trying to do is find processes and systems that could reduce the amount of staff costs that they had. And they did so well with their company, because they did a takeover with their company, and they reduced the staff cost by half. And the company was way more effective. The customer service was better. And all of this was by creating A, assets, and B, systems and process. So definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, many of us, and many of you guys listening, have probably got assets sat in your business that you haven't quite realised are sat there. Or like Ben said, you've created something many moons ago and then not used it again. And like we talk about this a lot in squeezing our assets. Where can we squeeze it really hard? Where can we get more out of it? I had a call one of our clients last week. He's got a book on Amazon. None of us had any idea he had a book, right? He's never told any of us. And I was talking to him, I was like, right, what have you got? What are your assets? And he's like, oh, I've actually got a book. And I've actually done I've got like over 300 episodes on a podcast. It's like, dude, right, now let's work hard on squeezing these. And we went through a number of strategies on like what he could do with that book.
Actually, and shameless plug. If you want to see this in action, head over to www.awakenman.org and look at our asset for our scorecard. We've got a scorecard that I think the one that you created is on the site, and it's just it's just a one that just to determine where are the areas that you can focus on in your business or your life as a man to create the biggest return on your investment in time. So if you were to do that scorecard, it takes literally like 2 minutes. You get a full massive PDF full of data and and little places that you can start to do some work and you get a big return on your investment, that's an asset. So head on over there. There's 3 things over there. There's there's a scorecard. There's a free access to the portal. So we've got a portal there. That's another asset. And having those things to point people to, it does actually help. 'Cause at the end of the day, what we're trying to be is a utility. I think this is a big focus on in the social media world is people trying to be an authority. When actually, we're not trying to be an authority. We're trying to be utility. We're trying to be something that helps people solve their problems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even think of our own asset. So if you want to see what we've done really quickly, head over to our website, which is an asset, right, in itself. All the testimonials on our website, all the client success stories, the videos, they are your assets, right? Okay, and it sits there when you're asleep and it's working for you. But if you look on the homepage, there's 3 things that you can do, and they are 3 things. They're 3 different assets. You can get some inspiration from there.
Actually, take a look at the testimonials. It's just honestly, we paid a lot of money to have them done. We invested in them.
Yeah.
We got a really, really good videographer. We got the guys up to North Wales. They were on the retreat, and we just sat them down and said, listen, share your experience with the Awaken Man. And if you watch them, you'll learn not only their experience, but you'll see that they're not just put together, they're not a fake sort of, we haven't paid some fake company to write something nice about us. We've actually invested in the asset of the testimonial itself, and they're really good. And if you haven't got them in your business, they do actually really help people with buying decisions.
Yeah. Next, what is working? This is Google Suite, right? I was thinking about this the other day. You could absolutely build, definitely into the 7 figures, definitely build a quality business purely using the Google Suite, purely using Google Docs and Sheets. You go and get a Stripe account, you can accept payments. Honestly, there is so much you can do with that suite, and it doesn't cost. You can get it for free, or you can go and pay maybe £5 a month, right? Doesn't cost a lot. There is so much you can do with that. You can build your CRM on Google Sheets. You look after all your leads, right? You can create all assets using literally documents, right? All your SOPs, all your lead magnets, your sales pages. There is so much you can do with just that. You don't need to you actually don't need to go and overcomplicate it. We're getting loads and loads of fancy systems and softwares and so on. That's actually just an excuse. Just by using that, you can easily grow your business up to high 6 figures, definitely into the early 7 figures, and then you might have to start getting a little bit more fancy there, maybe, depending on what your business model is. Right, that's a big learning curve for me, just going through that. I love a system, I love a bit of software, and actually coming from a place where I did have more people and we were doing more revenue, and there were a lot of intricacies in the type of work that we did. There's lots of procedures. So we had fancy software that looked after that. But, one of our guys the other day said, what do I need? And I'm like, you can literally build your business on Google. You don't need much more than that, right? No. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. So that was what is working, right, is the Google Suite.
Yeah, I think even just recognizing when you swap and change, it strangles your bandwidth. If you go from one thing to another, people learning to use different CRMs, different processes, taking payment processes, it just slows you down. It was Amazon that just kind of proved it with the one-click buying. Is you've got to make it so swift between people's decision and buying. And when you've got things in the way, that's all things that slow down money. Money loves speed. I love that from Rob Moore. Money loves speed. So if you can make it frictionless and help it flow as easily as it wants to, that's when you get a lot more of it. So I think that's a really good thing to acknowledge, is that sometimes we swap and change looking for the extra little efficiencies in the CRM, but in the short term, we really do slow our businesses down.
Yeah, brings me on to the next point, is simplicity. So a simple acquisition system. We haven't mastered this yet, right? We're still working on acquisition systems. It's good to have multiple acquisition systems, but the first one to actually master, which we have done very well, is the referral-based system, right? So the simple referral-based acquisition system. It's the first one that is quite easy to master, but so many companies don't do that. They might get a referral, every now and again or once a month, whatever that looks like. But to actually build a system around building a business off the back of referrals is super, super powerful. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be done with intention. So it's like this referral system is part of our acquisition system. Like we have a big focus on referrals and we are conscious of that and we are intentional with that, right? That there, my friends, is damn powerful. Really, really powerful. I'd do some work around this. Like if you haven't got this in your business right now, I would absolutely be doing work around how can I simplify this? How can I make this super powerful? How can I make it easy for people to refer me and want to refer me? And then how can I go out of my way to get those referrals, right? So simple acquisition systems. Number one, referrals. Like who do you know that can refer your business?
Yeah. Creating the opportunities as well. You have to create them. They don't just come, like no one's going to, inevitably someone will say, oh yeah, I want to refer your company. Have you done? But ultimately you've got to create those opportunities. We created an opportunity for our current members last week to have a conversation with us about referrals. Ended up like 15, 16 referrals. So we created one opportunity. I think I've done like 8 calls and we've had like 9 people book. Like that's really, really powerful. So it's like we created that. It wasn't something that we just said, oh, hey guys, does anyone fancy referring our service? We actually created a process around that and it was really, really helpful. So thinking about that, and this is something that I feel a lot of businesses don't do. They don't. And if you look at referral-based business as well, the leads are cheaper, they stay longer, they normally are better customers because they're very similar to the people that you're already buying from you. So, it's a really, really great way to grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like master that acquisition system, then move on to the next acquisition system to then go and master and make it super, super simple. And don't spread yourself too thin on every single type of way to get a sale, right? Because that just at least is sporadic and it balls your brain. And keep it simple. This is how I get a lead. This is how I get a sale. This is what I'm going to sell them. This is my simple offer. Oh, I've got one here. Our Awaken Man retreat, right? That worked really well. Super, super well. It was one of the most powerful things we have done all year. It was just insane. It was a great experience for us hosting it and to be part of it, and then for all the men that came along for it. It was like nothing else I'd ever experienced. So it's like, where can you do meetups and adventures and experiences with your clients? Where, if you run a fitness-based business, can you go on hikes and walks and hike up Snowdon or something like that, one of the mountains, or client-based business? What can you do with them to have an experience with people in person, go and having a bit of fun, right? Our adventure / retreat was mega powerful, and it's now something that we're going to do much more regularly. So yeah, that definitely worked. It also brought people into the Awaken Man program that weren't in the program before. So they came for an experience with us, and then we're like, wow, these guys are cool. We love what they're up to. They bonded with us. We bonded with them. Brought new people into our business, which, guess what, in turn, referred other people into our business, right? So that grew the company just off of us doing an amazing retreat, which didn't feel like work one bit. So where can you do that in your company?
That was it's a really good point, because we're a relationship-based company, and this is something that we really have to come back to, is that if you're in coaching, we're in coaching, consulting, mentoring. We have to gain people's trust in order for them to trust that we'll help them with whatever blocks they've got in their company business. Like a lot of the men that work with us, they've got to trust that we can help them with their relationships, we can help them with their business, we can help them with their self-belief. And spending like a week with somebody rapidly helps you bond with them. And it helps you really get to know who they are. And that's what I felt like, because we do those 3 things on the program. We help guys with their businesses, we help guys with their relationships, we help guys with themselves and their self-belief. And those 3 things, they could see that at the end of the week, yes, Pete and I had done a lot of work in that arena, and there was other men who were equally sharing about their relationships, and they could see that. So it's almost like a shop window. So if you listen to this and you want to build great relationships with clients, think about what kind of experience is going to best reflect that for you. It might not be a retreat. It might be something just like an expo. You organize a summit online, but you just give someone an opportunity to spend time with you and get to know you that little bit better. Because I think in this ever growing online space, what we're looking for is people we can really trust to solve our problem. Ultimately, like, you know, if you look at like kind of the money equals trust. You know, when you have people that trust you deeply and a lot of people that trust you, you make a lot of money and you keep making a lot of money.
Yeah. Next one here, I've got, I mean, this is quite a broad one where you can go into mega detail. It's around tracking data. But one of the things that we do and get all of our clients to do is create a desert island scorecard. Right. So this is another asset for your company. This is something that you can look at and see exactly how well your business is doing. There's a bit of a kind of a root structure as to how you build that out. But what it means is that we can look at our DIS, our Desert Island Scorecard, at the end of every week and see how well our company is doing, just as an overview on all the key metrics. And it's mega powerful, because it's either like, well fucking done, we've done well this week, or it's like, right, we really need to get a lot better at that particular element. And it's also like, you track that over 4, 8, 12 weeks, you can really see data in patterns. You can, okay, well, I can see where we've had some ups and downs, and maybe that there's a bottleneck there, and we can fix that, or we can put an asset in place. It's a really powerful tool to have. So actually tracking like the key metrics in your business weekly, not just like once a month, once a quarter, once a year. It's like doing that every week, keeping it super simple as well. Don't get like 27 different metrics you want to try and track and calculate, and because it just takes too much time, then you just don't do it, right? Get some simple ones. You're more likely to do that week in, week out. It's powerful. You see where your business is at.
Yeah. I think this is something that I think there's like an overarching theme of some of the things that we've shared is the power of less. Is like getting really clear on the real things that move the needle in your business. It's like, instead of having multiple bits of feedback, loads of different bits of data, it's like okay, how many X have we done this week? What have we done? How many, bookings have we had? How many conversations we had? How many X are we doing? And that is like being abreast of that every single week, and actually giving the space in the calendar to review that. Every single Friday we look at, Pete and I go through exactly all these numbers that we have committed to, and like, have we done what we said we're going to do? What needs to change in order to hit the numbers? And it does move the business forward, because instead of this random scattergun approach, you become way more powerful. And I equate it to the difference between spraying and being powerful, like the sun versus a laser. The sun can, it's got so much energy, but it just literally touches everything on the planet. Whereas a laser hits something that's like really like, a millimeter wide. It can burn through massive, the biggest of blocks. So what we want to become is more like a laser than the sun.
Right, team. We'll do a round 2. We'll do a part 2 on this, because there's loads more, and we haven't even touched what Ben had. So hopefully this will help some guys maybe think about something different in their business, or add this into their business, and what's worked well for us. We haven't even gone what hasn't worked yet. So there's a load of things what hasn't worked well for us, which we'll go through on part 2.
Yeah. So just a little invitation. If there's been one thing that you've listened to and you really think it does resonate with you, go and implement it. Go and take action on it, and just share it with us if you do, because that's ultimately why we do what we do. We want to help you grow your business, get more time, and make more money. Like, literally actualize what you're capable of being. The only way you're going to do that is by taking action on what you're listening to, instead of just information collecting. So good luck with that, and we'll see you next week.